Welcome back to another video, people. Today we are talking Terrance Crawford versus Israel Madrimov. We are talking about one of the best cards in American boxing in a very long time, and definitely one of the best fighters in all of boxing in a very long time. Pound for pound, number 1, 2, 3, interchangeable, Terrance Bud Crawford. Let's get into today's video. In today's video as well, we're going to be talking about some of the undercard fights of the lighter weights, not the heavyweights. We're doing that in another video that's coming out very, very soon. Just have a little chat straight into it. So first off, the talk Pitbull versus Jose Venezuela. Now, Pitbull Cruz, obviously a very, very, very talented, aggressive fighter. I'm not gonna spend too long on this fight because I just don't really see this being any kind of issue for Cruz. I think they've done this as a nice confidence builder. I think he's going to breeze straight through him. I see a knockout or a stoppage round, maybe by round 5. Jose Venezuela, very, very laid-back fighter. When I say laid-back, how can I describe it? Like in the ring, he doesn't seem to have a big sense of urgency. His last fight versus Elvin De Los Santos, he was stopped in the 3rd round. I don't really think he's a high-level fighter. I feel like Pitbull Cruz has been brought in for Pitbull Cruz as a confidence builder. So I'm going to go for a prediction straight off. Pitbull Cruz via KO. Next up, we'll talk Andy Cruz versus Moran. Now, Andy Cruz is really coming into his own. He's starting to come with more confidence. You're seeing him in these press conferences look a little bit more confidence, come out of his shell, come out of his shell a little bit more. And I think he's really going to be a rising star in Matchroom's ranks. And I think that this fight is just helping to build him. It's just kind of how can I say, it's a formality. I watched a few of Antonio Moran's highlights, and again, like, he doesn't have the best record. His last fight versus, I believe it was Jermaine Ortiz, didn't look the greatest in that fight. I think it's just a nice fight for Andy Cruz to come and basically look good on him, style on him, and then introduce him to the American audience, which I think this will be a great fight to do that, because there'll be a lot of hardcores tuning in because of Bud Crawford, and Crawford's starting to kind of cross over into that mainstream market. So it's good to have Andy Cruz to kind of have just a nice little run out to push him onto that market as well and show him his personality and make him the next superstar. Now, I don't know about a stoppage in this one because, of course, Andy Cruz is trying to develop his amateur boxing or Olympic boxing style into the pro ranks. But if it does happen, let's say maybe a mid-round to late-round stoppage in favor of Andy Cruz. That's my prediction for this one. Andy Cruz definitely to win. Next up, we're talking David Morrell versus Kagic. Now, I hope I said his name right. Kagic is a very, very tough customer. I saw him against Bertabiev, and very, 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 very tough customer. But obviously, Bertabiev got it done. He KO'd him. Now, this is, I think, Morrell stepping up to 175 for this one. So it will be interesting to see what power he has at 175. He already is quite an aggressive fighter. For the Cuban style, he's not necessarily just a slip boxer and just on the back foot and head movement. That he's very aggressive on for a Cuban fighter. So it'd be very interesting to see. I think it's a Cuban fighter anyway. It'd be very, very interesting to see what he does at 175. I will look at a stoppage in this one. I will look at a David Morrell stoppage. I don't see Kagic really putting up much resistance. I wouldn't say it's any kind of 50-50 fight, but it's a good kind of show out for David Morrell. Next up, we talk the main event. Crawford versus Madrimov. Now, this fight is a 50-50. Now, let's first talk about Bud Crawford. Now, obviously, he hasn't really had the most amount of opportunities to box the high level of opposition, because I just don't think he's been promoted correctly. But finally, he's getting the shine that he deserves. Now, if we look at the eye test over just his CV, we know that what Crawford does in the ring is special. Like his boxing IQ, obviously as a switch hitter, he's a right-handed fighter that mostly fights southpaw. A lot of time wants to fight southpaw, which means that he's got a power jab. It's actually the first punch that he knocked Spence down with, I believe it was the 2nd round. It was the power jab, exit power jab was the last punch he threw, bam, a right hand put him down. So he's a very, very dangerous fighter. He's everyone compares him to Triple G, which I will say I understand is very, very similar. He throws those kind of overhand shots as well, overhand hooks, that kind of a downward trajectory, just like Triple G. But the difference with Madrimov is that he's a lot more dynamic and explosive in his footwork as well. So he cuts angles differently to Triple G. Triple G is more of a stalking style, quite flat-footed, whereas Madrimov will leap into his shots. He will change angles and throw angles from kind of, let's say, unconventional positions. What you have to be careful of is that when he does get aggressive and he does get carried away, his hands do start to drop low. He's not always defensively responsible. And against someone like Terrance Crawford, that could be a big mistake. Crawford is a great counter-puncher, and he can be aggressive when he wants to be, but he will counter you. If you're making mistakes or you're throwing without any regard for your defense and he sees gaps in that defense, he will time you and he will get you the heck out of there. Another thing about Crawford is that he's not just someone who will just pick you off like Floyd, or to say Money Floyd. He's got the pretty boy Floyd power as well, with that Money Floyd defense and Money Floyd timing. So if he catches you on timing with one good shot, he can hurt you or he can put you down. It'll be interesting to see, like I said, if it carries up to 154, but it is something that Madrimov has to be careful of. Now, also, Crawford is a bit of an enigma in the sense that his strength doesn't match his size. Like, I've seen Crawford deadlifting over 200 kg in jeans and boots, which is ridiculous for someone his size. And it just seemed like he wasn't training it. He just walked in and was like, I want to try it this way. So he's got a lot of unnatural strength for his size. So I wouldn't be surprised if Madrimov did try to rough him up in the clinch here and there and was very surprised by Crawford's strengths. This is something that people said when he fought Spence, that Spence is going to be too strong, too big, and Spence looked he didn't have anywhere near the same level of strength as Crawford in that fight. So I'm going to be backing Terrance Crawford to get it done. I don't really see it going all 12 rounds. Yes, Israel's a very, very tough guy, and he has a lot of power in him and he's very explosive, but sometimes I think that might be his undoing. It's his strength as well in this fight. The more unorthodox he can be, the kind of better it will be for him. If he's coming at him from a very strict or traditional boxing sense, I think Crawford will be able to pick him off and be able to counter him and defend and counter very, very quickly, very easily. Like I said, when you see Crawford countering people, or if he does get stuff going, he is very defensively responsible. He does keep his opposite hand quite close to the face or quite high. He is blocking shots between throwing combos. He is moving his head. He is moving himself just in and out of range when he needs to be. But when he smells blood, he goes for the kill. So I see that happening. I see Madrimov maybe having a little bit of success, or thinking he's having success, or leaping into something, getting a little bit too aggressive, a bit carried away. There being a slight opening, Crawford countering him, bow, and then trying to finish the job. That's how I see that one guy. What do you think about this fight? What do you think about this fight card? What do you think about those lower weight classes? Even the heavyweights, in Let's Go in another video. Let me know in the comments below. Like, share, subscribe. See you soon. Peace. What was that? Hand signs? Peace.